All right, keys to a strong family. Now, privately, individually, you have 1 minute. Write as many as you can down. Keys to a strong family. What are the keys, individually now, to having a strong family? See, I'm doing a little bit of my normal type of teaching here today. A little bit, not much. Normally we'd have major think tanks going on, but you get a 1 minute little piece of mummer teaching. What are the keys to a strong family? What kind of keys did we have? Encouragement. Real quickly, we're going down the line. Again, no repeating. No repeating. Everybody's going to give me one. This table's going to have the hardest time. Oh, wait a minute. I started with that table last time. Right. No fair. We got to be fair in here, right? Got to be fair. Starting over here. Coming this way.
I put down chores like rules and guidelines and stuff like that. Key to family.
Chores. Girls, gals in here like that. You like that word chores, right? Chores is a positive thing for the family? Guidelines? Yes.
Family time.
Family time. What's that mean? Television time?
TV time.
TV time. I mean, it's just, I think a lot of people nowadays, are lacking of, having dinner together at the table.
Dinner together.
And we do that and pray before meal.
Dinner together.
Yes.
That one thing is what they're really focusing on right now, a lot of these books, dinner together. And God. He's got to be in there. And?
Love and support.
Love, that's an easy word.
Mom and dad.
Mom and dad. But what if you only have one? It's not easy, is it? That puts a double pressure on that one person left over, doesn't it? And?
God is number one.
Yeah, God is number one.
They already said that. Gotta have another one.
I didn't hear that.
I heard
I
him.
thought you said love and respect.
No, I did. Those guys support. No, those guys.
Love.
This gentleman right here.
See? The old man, you're losing your hearing.
All right, what do you got?
I got setting restrictions and limits, like
Boundaries.
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 That was over
I already
there,
said
too.
that.
You guys are.
Boundaries.
I said 17 things.
One thing per table. You can't have six
Okay,
things
right.
already before you get to the third table.
All right, next. Forget this table. Obedience. Obedience.
Shut the TV off.
Okay, shut off the TV.
Trust.
Trust.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Whoa.
Wealth.
Wealth. Cannot a poor family have a strong family?
Spiritually.
Spiritual wealth.
Back encouragement.
Encouragement.
One of the things I see missing a lot is love of the parents for each other and demonstrating it before the kids.
Okay, let's see what Scripture has to give us. Everybody go to Philippians 2.
Philippians.
Philippians 2. Verse 3 through 8.
No, that's not nice.
Next time I'll have to start with this table.
And we'll just get one.
Verse 3, let nothing be done through strife or vainglory. Now, put all of these verses into a family setting, if you would. So mother, father, let nothing be done through strife and vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem the other one, if you wish, better than yourself. Well, that's a whole lot of easy to say it, but a whole lot of hard to do it, isn't it? Look not every man or woman on his own things, but every man or woman also on the things of others. Let's get rid of selfishness. Be humble. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. Isn't that what he did? He humbled himself, put his own desires out of the way, took the Father's will, and came down in love to reach us. Who being in the form of God thought not it robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a, what's the next word? Servant. Now I'm going to throw that one especially out at the guys. Servant. Isn't the wife supposed to serve you everything?
Yes.
He took upon himself the form of a servant and was made in the likeness of men. I mean, he became, if you wish, for us, it'd be like becoming an ant, kind of like I said before. And being found in the fashion of a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, in the death of the cross. Humble. So I see humble, I see submission, I see loving, I see servanthood. Verse 12. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God which worketh in you both to will and to do his good pleasure. Do all things without murmuring and disputings, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked, perverse America. Actually, it's nation. Among whom you're supposed to shine as lights in the world. And it's dangerous to become like Lot, who lived in Sodom and Gomorrah, to the point, and the key word that is used there with Lot is he was vexed. 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 Daily vexed with everything he heard and saw, to the point he became, and his family became like them. And when God tried to pull his family out, there wasn't any family left. Even his wife turned her back because of the vexation of that culture that was there. And I don't think we're much different. As Billy Graham said, I think it was Billy Graham, said that God's going to have to apologize for Sodom and Gomorrah if he doesn't judge America and Europe. John 5, 19 and 30, I'll share the idea with you. Jesus constantly was saying, I'm only going to say and do what I hear from the Father. They were in this kind of unity. And that's what he calls for a wife and a husband to be, in that kind of unity. There shouldn't be a child shouldn't ever get away with going to two different parents and get two different answers. You know, Daddy, can I? Oh, Daddy won't let me. Mommy, can I? Mommy says yes. Should never happen.
One accord.
That's right.
That's right.
The rule is they should both say no all the time, right? John 13. Everybody turn there. John 13. I can tell now I'm not going to get to teaching that number 5 just isn't going to happen, I think. John 13. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, imagine how he felt. He's going to leave his disciples. He's leaving his disciples. He's going back to heaven. He's going to leave his disciples on this earth. This earth, which is under the control of pretty much Satan. Imagine how he felt. What would you say when you're going to die? What would be your last things you would say and do to your family?
Remember everything I taught you. I think is what I would try to get out.
Well, let's see what he does. Having loved his own, which were in the world. They're in the world and they're not coming with him. They're being left behind. He loved them unto the end. And the supper being ended, the devil, having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot to betray him, all right, now one of his own 12 is going. And Jesus, knowing that the Father had given him all things into his hands, that he was come from God and went to God, what did he do? He rose up from supper and laid aside his garments, and he took a towel and he girded himself. And after that he poured water into a basin and he began to wash the disciples' feet. One of his last acts. Servanthood. That's the job of a servant. And we read about servant up here in Philippians 2. To become a servant. But the guys want the wife to wait on them and serve them, right?
That'd be nice.
Verse 13. Ye call me Master and Lord, and ye say, well, for so I am. If I then, being your Lord and Master, was washing your feet, what ought you to do with one another's feet? For I have given you an example. There it is, the servant's example. He is the King of Kings, the creator of the universe, and he's washing feet. The servant is not greater than his Lord. And go over to verse 34. A new commandment I have given unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Even so you love one another. Well, how do you prove that love? In Matthew 22, it says that we're to love our neighbor as ourselves. Well, there is no closer neighbor than we have than our mate. They're our number one neighbor. Turn to Proverbs 13. Proverbs 13. And I speak to myself. I get to speak to myself every time I teach this. And the Lord is going to have to... if you teach the gospel, you'd better do the gospel or you're in deep trouble. And we try. Go to verse 10 first, and then we're going to come back. This is what I would call the opposite of the Philippians 2 and John 5 and John 13. This is sort of many times what not to do. In verse 10 it says, only by pride cometh contention. Pride is the cause of every evil thing. Pride. That's what caused Satan to fall. I put it as the number one sin. I don't think it's the love of money. It's the number one sin. It caused a third of the angels to leave heaven. Pride. And it causes, and he throws it at us. He's got darts all over the place. Pride, proud, and he hits you with them. And if there's contention in your family, there has to be pride. It's in one or both, it has to be pride. It just has to be. And you now know what you're dealing with. You now know who the root is. It's Satan. And here are some examples. If you go back up into 1, it says, a wise son heareth his father's instruction. Now, a proud son, will he listen?
He may listen, but he won't do anything with it.
Verse 3, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction. Keep in our mouth. There's our tongue again, isn't it? There's a key for a family. Keep in our mouths. 4, the soul of the sluggard desireth and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. The sluggard. It's all through American society. It's all through American society and others. More and more now just living off of the government, and we've got young adults who are coming back into their father and mother's family and living till they're 20, 30, and 130, and you know, and you're going to take care of me.
The world owes me a living.
Yeah, owes me. You know, I have a right. Verse 7, here's some more. I mean, this was last week. Last week's issue. There is that maketh himself rich, yet he has nothing. There is that maketh himself poor, and yet he has great riches. So the issue of how to deal with our wealth. And getting to the point where we begin to realize, like a steward, that steward level, it's not ours. It's not ours. And it goes on from verse 7 there. Verse 11, wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall be increased. So wealth is an issue. Fearing God in verse 13. Verse 22 has to do with family. A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, grandchildren. Verse 24. There may be three people in this room that aren't going to like verse 24. The crown of the wise is their riches, but the foolishness... I didn't get that verse right. Where did I go to? Didn't get that verse right. 24?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no wonder. I got 2 pages stuck together. He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him between times, or a lot. Spanking. Family issues. 1 Corinthians 13, everybody turn there. Now Norma and I are not going to do what we tried to do, and I would say foolishly, at our wedding. As nervous as we all were, imagine Rachel trying to, at your wedding, quote 1 Corinthians 13 to each other. And that was not a smart move. This is the famous love chapter. And obviously, if love is a key to a marriage, then we have to come back and at least go over it. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. And I would like to take Pastor Bob's approach for a moment, because I don't think I have ever heard this from anybody else but from him. And that is this definition of love, which, by the way, we quoted to each other. And when the photographer took our picture of our hands together, our rings together, on the Bible, we had turned it to this page, and the actual verses that we had quoted to each other were twice as dark as the other ones. Now, I don't know if he did that. I don't think they had the capability of doing that way back in the dark ages when we got married. But it was twice as dark. I thought, that's God.
What year was that?
That was 73.
18.
Oh.
Greg.
You know, Walt, this is the wrong class to put on videotape. Okay, verse 4. Let's get back here. The key here is that there are as many negatives as there are positives. When we think of love, we always think of how I'm going to feel. And I'll pick on the young ones for a moment, on Rachel and Anna especially. Love, the man who's going to love you, when you fall in love, it's all going to be me, 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 isn't it? How's he going to treat me? How is me going to feel? Me, me, me. And that isn't necessarily the definition of love. And if you go into a marriage or a relationship with that me, 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 it's probably going to fail.
Because it's selfish.
It's self. It isn't real love. In this definition, let's try something. I have never tried this before. Let's raise our, no, I can't do that. Right and left hand. Okay, we're going to raise our hand with the negative ones only. I'm going to start in verse 4. If it's a negative, like the first one says, love or charity suffereth long. Is that a positive or a negative? Positive. It's positive, but who wants to suffer? Love isn't supposed to be suffering. Right? Why does it say that? Suffer.
Because you love
That's what the Lord did.
You love him.
He suffered for us. When you fall in love, are you going to suffer? What's love?
That's a loaded question.
Wrong class.
And love is kind. Okay, that's a positive. We can raise our hand. Love is kind. Love envieth not. There's a not. There's a negative. It doesn't envy. Love doesn't vaunt itself up. It doesn't puff itself up. It isn't proud. It is not puffed up. Another negative. It doth not behave itself unseemly. It seeketh not her own. Gee, these are negatives. This is the love chapter, right? This is it. It is not easily provoked. Thinketh no evil. It's a negative. Positive and negative. Rejoices not in iniquity. Rejoices in the truth. Beareth all things. Oh boy, bear. Remember that backpack I wore in here one day? Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth. I get words like suffering, enduring, beareth. Charity love never fails. We always have to keep coming back to that chapter. And I've written here in my notes, we got to remember that true love is going to go past the honeymoon and into the sunshine. See if you can pick that one up. Go past the honeymoon into the sunshine. You know, opposite moon, sun.
What do you say?
Sunshine. Hebrews 13. Yeah, we're not going to get to a whole section of this lesson. Hebrews 13. Let brotherly love continue. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers. I don't need that verse. Let's go to verse 4. Marriage is honorable in all, the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. Let your conversation, that means life, let your life be without covetousness. There we go. Last week's lesson again. And be content with such things as you have. We used that verse last week, didn't we?
Week before.
Week before, yeah, it wasn't last week. By the way, we have no class next week, Mother's Day.
Oh, that was right.
Okay? We're studying the family. We have to honor the mom. Next week, no class. Okay? And I've asked everybody, I think, in here about Memorial Day. We really need to do Memorial Day. Everybody says, I've asked everybody but maybe one group that they're all going to be in town for Memorial Day. Because we need to get done by the, especially, and I may not even be here in June. I don't know. I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Keys, I think, to love and keys to marriage. 1 Timothy 6 again says, godliness with contentment is great gain. 1 Corinthians 11, let's turn there. I've got to speed up. 1 Corinthians 11, verse 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. So God the Father is on top, the Son, and the man, and the woman it's in that order. Does that mean that Christ is any less than the Father? That the woman is any less than the man?
No. Equals.
They are called one. They are one. Two different beings, but there is, and both of them, by the way, are over the children. But doesn't mean that the children are not human. You're to cleave unto the wife, and they are to be one flesh, it says in Genesis 2:24. One flesh. Mark 3:25. Some people think that Lincoln made this phrase up. No, he was just quoting the Bible, because people back then knew it. He said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." It has to be in unity.